Call the meeting to order. Please rise for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome to the October 5th Post Falls City Council meeting. Shannon, please note that all council members are present. We have Council President Wilhelm with us via Zoom. Linda, can you hear us okay? Thank you. Tonight we do have an announcement. Over the past several weeks, the west side of the Prairie Avenue Highway 41 intersection has been closed as part of the Idaho Transportation Department's Highway 41 Widening project. Prairie Avenue will be opened back up to traffic this coming Saturday, October 9th. On Monday, October 11th, the west leg of the Poleline Avenue 41 intersection will be closed for the entire week to reconstruct the roadway to improve the intersection's capacity with project completion. This closure will impact access from Highway 41 to the Post Falls High School and elementary schools in the area. The public's continued patience during ITD's Highway 41 widening project is appreciated, and by this time next year, we will be driving on an improved and safer Highway 41, which will benefit our community and the region. Excuse me. And we do have a proclamation tonight. Safe Infant Sleep Awareness Month. Whereas sudden unexpected infant deaths, SUID, is a sudden and unexpected death of an infant birth to age 1 year, in which the manner and cause of death are not immediately obvious prior to the investigation. And whereas sudden infant death syndrome, SIDS, is a subset of SUID and remains the #1 cause of infant death between the age of 28 days of life to 1 year. And whereas the tragedy of SUID can happen to any family regardless of race, ethnicity, or economic group. And whereas evidence-based research has proven that when babies are placed in a crib alone in the parents' room on their backs on a firm crib mattress with fitted crib sheet, using no crib bumper pads, pillows, blankets, quilts, or stuffed animals and toys, in a smoke-free environment, they will sleep safest and reduce the risk of SIDS and prevent many other infant sleep-related deaths. And whereas Inland Northwest SIDS Foundation is a statewide not-for-profit organization dedicated to providing infant safe sleep education, bereavement support services, and creating community awareness around preventing sleep-related infant deaths. And whereas during the month of October, Northwest Infant Survival and SIDS Alliance will hold special events, including Run for the Angels, which was this past Saturday, October 3rd, and distribute safe infant sleep educational pamphlets, cribs, and wearable blankets to families in need, therefore providing the best opportunity for all babies in Post Falls to survive and thrive. Now, therefore, I, Ronald G. Jacobson, Mayor of the City of Post Falls, Idaho, do hereby proclaim October 2021 as Safe Infant Sleep Awareness Month in Post Falls, Idaho, in order to raise awareness about preventing sleep-related infant deaths and to encourage infant safe sleep practices so that no parent will have to endure the tragedy of a death of a baby. And we do have one presentation tonight, and it's on signal box beautification. Mr. Anthony.
Mayor and Council, a few meetings back ago, I'd say quite a few meetings back ago, the mayor approached me because of my background as a liaison to the Arts Commission to look at our plaza out front here on Spokane Street and maybe a couple ideas we could do to kind of upgrade it a little and do something with the back of the museum building. I drove around and looked at all that and came up with the idea that we could do something like similar to what we'd done before. And that was the signal box beautification program we'd done in Coeur d'Alene. And a little history of that is that started, Sorensen School in Coeur d'Alene became a magnet school for the arts, and Principal Jim Gray was on our arts commission. And he had the idea of having the kids go down and paint the signal box on 11th and Sherman. Well, basically our police department, school district, a lot of people weren't too keen on having 30 kids painting a box. So I went to a conference in Boise and took an arts tour. And what I discovered there was vinyl wrap program in Boise on their signal boxes. So I go, aha, I can steal this idea, which you do in our business. You borrow ideas, I should say. So I borrowed it, brought it up to our Arts Commission in Coeur d'Alene. We had a person on the Arts Commission at the time who was the perfect person to take it on because I'm a good delegator. So at this time, I'd like to introduce Joe Sharonetsky. He was chairman of the Arts Commission in Coeur d'Alene, but he's put together a little PowerPoint for you tonight and just want to look at a few ideas that we traveled around the city that he's put together. Joe, it's yours.
Thank you, Steve. Council members, Mayor, appreciate you having me here tonight. Joe Sharonetsky is my name, live in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Steve, I'm glad you gave that introduction because you saved an awful lot on the presentation. If you, as Steve said, we went and looked, originally we were going to paint, and for safety reasons, everything, a lot of them there. And if Steve hadn't have taken his trip down there to Boise, we probably would have still been wondering what to do. And when he came back, the minute he mentioned the vinyl, it was like, boy, the lights went on. I'm information technology, my career's been all digital and printing and everything, and I thought, wow, that opens up an awful lot of opportunity for a project like that for the city. So we decided at that point we were going to do vinyl wraps instead of painting on things. And what you see on some of the presentation there, it shows where the whole project can be opened up to a whole new audience. You no longer are worried about, do I need a painter? Does the painter paint with oils? Can you put oils on a box? You can't do that because after a while you got to repair it, the sun, the UV. So you basically end up, if you're going to paint, using automotive paint, which is good for cars. And it also opens up the project to more than just paintings. Supposing you got somebody that's a very talented person that quilts and does nice quilts and looks really good abstract. You can digitize it. Put it on a vinyl wrap, put it on a box. What you see there on the lower one in the lower right-hand corner, that was a painting that was done by a high school student, Lake City High School. The art department there, the teachers, had a little, shall we say, contest, and all the students and teachers chose this young lady. And what you're seeing is she painted her horses. And we even had her dad involved in this because when we went to the schools and talked to them about this, we gave them the proportions, the ratios of the boxes. Because as you're looking at this and you see some of these boxes, those large ones, those boxes' circumference is 12 feet around. That's a big thing. 60 inches tall, 12 feet, so you got a 5 by 12 foot painting there, and what you have to do is digitize it and extrapolate it and make it that big. And so when we gave them the measurements, the young lady took it home to her father, and her father custom made canvases for her. And she painted on those canvases, and what you see is the small and the little box of the horses, and they were the exact size. They extrapolated nice and fit nice. The other things on there over at Riverstone, those are paintings. The middle one that you see, photographs and people doing digitizing on that. The other one is a painting. Why I just talked about why we're doing vinyl, digital image, flexibility, submissions from all kinds of stuff. And the biggest thing is it's not just opening it up to people that aren't painters, it's opening it up to the kids. And we had talked about that in the Arts Commission, and Steve and I, and one of the best things you can get is kid art. I mean, it's fun. Come on, we got to smile and everything and have some fun in life. And these children, they come up with some nice imaginative things. It's not professional, but it's imaginative. And as I mentioned, down there in that third bullet, oil, watercolors, tempera, fabrics, photos, charcoal, doesn't matter. No longer do you exclude anybody. Everybody can be in there. All you got to do is digitize it. So let me go over those examples right there. The first two are watercolors. And Helen Stevenson was the artist and resided for 30 years. She worked for Foss. And in her travels, she got out in the tugs and went around the lake, and she took pictures, and she made paintings, watercolors. And one of them on the top left, is really a historical painting from the Idaho Museum. She got a photograph down there they had when the steamboats were coming up from Boise and stuff, or from down in the lake and traveling up here and through the river. And she made that painting. The other is, on the other side of it there, is one of her paintings of just the lake as she's out there working. And then the bottom two that you see, those are two paintings also, and watercolors. One of them on the right with a clock is really Sherman Avenue. And there's a clock out there in front of a jewelry store. And that's a portion of her painting, which highlights that. And the other one is the entrance to the park in Coeur d'Alene. Then you go to the right-hand side, and you're looking at that. And Linda, she's a photographer. Liked to take pictures of Coeur d'Alene, this area, plus all over. And what she did is she submitted actually images, not the shape of the box on there, but she did submit the images there with that design on it. And they were a collection of photographs, and she was chosen when the committees we have that go out and look at all the submissions, and they choose from that. And so we chose her. So what you've got there in front of you, we've got a large box on the left-hand side, two of them. And in that large box, there's two images, two paintings. They don't have to come from the same artist. They can come from different people. So if you've only got 5 or 6 boxes, but you'd like to include more artists in there, you can have more paintings and you can divide those up, and you don't have to put one painting around the whole box. Sometimes an artist will submit a painting that is taller than it is wide. And so it fits better just on the front and the side. And you have to look at it that way too. So in this particular case, Helen submitted 4 paintings, and we used them for the boxes on there. And Linda, she submitted that. We were able to actually take what she submitted, and it worked out well for the box. This little example, that was the third one. This out of all the boxes I did 3 years, this is my favorite. Hands down, it's my favorite. First of all, creative. Those are photographs that I had to take. I got called by the teacher, they were done, and I went over to the classroom and walked in, and sitting on a table was a big cardboard box. And that big cardboard box was that right there. The kids actually designed that, cut out the front of the box on the thing. They put cellophane over the front to make it look like glass. All the little packages of the goodies in there that you get when you put your coins in, they designed all those custom, painted and everything. And then the little curlicues you see represent, those little things that when you put a coin in, it kind of whirls and drops down in the bottom. And of course, you put your hand through the bottom to get your thing. And you'll notice down there it's got teeth. And at the top of that one picture here on the bottom left is Grisbits. So I turned around and I took those pictures of the 4 sides of the box. And something that's not showing here, but I'll tell you, is you notice at the top of the box the white that's dripping down? The kids went and they made a paper mache bird. Do I need to tell you what the white is? They went that far in their creativity. And so I took those pictures, let's go back here, and ended up putting them in Photoshop, putting them together, shape of the box. And top of the box, typically on some of these tops, we take parts of an image out of it, and we put that on, and we expand that, put that as a separate file, and that's printed. Vinyl, all vinyl. They print that whole thing, that bottom, so you're looking at 5 foot by 12 foot piece of vinyl they print. And then they print that top, which is the dimensions, 40 by 22 by 40 or whatever, and they go out and they wrap this. And when they wrap it, they always print over a little so they overlap and they tuck in, and it makes it look like it's one box, one unified thing. Now, why is that my favorite? Yeah, it's really creative. Yeah, they did a great job. But we had a meeting with all the teachers at the schools that were going to enter this thing. And one of the things we told them, we gave them ratios, boxes, all kinds of stuff for them to go back to the class. But one of the things we told them, look, we want kid art. We don't care. It doesn't have to be professional. As long as it's imaginative, it's fun, brings a smile to your face. I don't care if they're young, old, whatever. But we don't want school mascots and school colors. Anybody care to guess what their school mascot and their school color is? How about the grizzly? They got this mascot into their submission. Kind of sneaky. And they laughed about it. In fact, we had a presentation at City Council, and I remember they were there, parents with them. And the background of the thing is their school colors. So they were the only one that managed to go against what I told them I didn't want, but it still turned out good. Another thing, too, while you're on this, because I'll get into this later, that box is very complex. Put it on something and car destroys it. How are you going to replace it? If it was a painting, you don't. Vinyl, that was destroyed, that box. On, I think Ramsey and Kathleen it was at the school, and a car hit it, and we had to replace it. Simple. When they replaced it, though, they had to replace it with the newer boxes. And the newer boxes are bigger and better, and so it was a different size. Did that bother us? Cart wrappers who does the vinyl, all they did was resize the vinyl and everything, printed it, went back, wrapped it, and we have the same thing out there right now. Nice thing, vinyl. Some other examples, real quick here. The upper right-hand corner, those are all hands. I went in, and the teacher had done a bunch of black art paper and had her students, younger kids, put their hands down on watercolors, whatever, and then press down on the paper, and then they turned around and wrote on it and drew and everything. And so we ended up having that to photograph, digitize, and wrap. So there's a box out there like that. The one on the upper right-hand side, again, those are drawings, and you notice there's 4 drawings there on that. So we were able to get 4 of the children in on that in those pictures because we just do the particular section, a side, a front, and so on, and just have to composite, put it together. Same thing with the bottom. Those were, in fact, that was 5 images because that top, we actually had an image that would fit there, so we ended up using 5 images for that bottom box. Again, children, schools. Then I got into another issue, and that issue was, gee, I got a bunch of students and we're going to be doing some art. How do we choose who we submit to the Arts Commission to be chosen? And 2 of the teachers, one of them at the school had a photography class. There was an art class, art teacher, and there was a photography teacher there. And the art teacher called me and told me about it and said, can they enter? I said, sure, why not? If you think they can do it and come up with a photograph. Notice I said a photograph, okay? And they said, okay, so when they were ready, I went over there, 54 photographs I got. Teacher said, can't you use them, please? And I said, okay, we'll figure something out. And then the drawings, I had 24 drawings. Same thing there. And these were young children, and the teacher gave them a project of doing spaceships, taking off in the cosmos. So the kids were having fun, and they were on pieces of black art paper, too. So I had to go over there and photograph all those, and I got thinking about it. I had them all there. They were chosen. And so I got a background off the internet for the photographs, and I put all their photographs and laid them out on the background so they do for the side, and that's what we wrapped the box with. And on the drawings, I ended up going to NASA site and getting a photograph of the Milky Way, that they had and composited the spaceships on there, and we wrapped the box with that, too. Again, the submissions, different age groups. You're looking at a lot of stuff there, 6 images. You're looking at bottom right-hand was a real good artist, and that's over, in fact, I think that image right now, if I recollect, is on Government Way and Kathleen, and it's on a large box, and it was really, student was a pretty good artist. And then you get up in the upper right-hand side, you've got a bunch of little pictures. They were 8.5 by 11 sheets of paper that the teachers gave the students and said, let's do this project and do these drawings, and they did. So I ended up having to photograph all those and digitize it. And the same thing with the middle top, that was it. The bottom one was another student with an artist, pretty good at that. And then you've got the lower left-hand corner, which got a bunch of another 8.5 by 11 circles and stuff that the students did. And these are just fun projects that they got involved in. And of course, students are doing this, they're out there in the box. Guess what the parents are thinking? Is they're proud too, because they see it as they drive through. So that was kind of nice working with the kids. And on the vinyl, as I mentioned earlier, you get an ease of replacement, maintenance. This particular vinyl, one of the biggest things outdoors is UV. I did art currents for Coeur d'Alene, the sculptures that are around downtown. And when I first started that thing in the first year, I did some real nice plaques I bought. And I bought some nice black frames and put the plaques in there on Corten steel. And the next year we went to put it out there, and all the black frames was aluminum. The black had been burned off from the sun, UV. So this vinyl that we're talking about tonight that they do is a 3M vinyl, and it's got a UV coating on it. And according to the specs on it, it says it will last at least 7 years before noticeable fading. We've got boxes out there that have gone for 10 years, no fading. And what they do is they, every 3 years or so, they'll go and they use spray and rag and they wipe them down. And that's it. If they get damaged, reprint that section, pull that off, put the section back on, and you're okay. So at this point, the 3M vinyl is really working quite well on this thing. Now, I did remember I'm here at Post Falls, and I know I've been talking about Coeur d'Alene. And as Steve said, he drove around, Steve and I drove around too, and we looked at these locations, and that's what you have. You can see those yourself. I'm not going to go over every single one of them. And I got to thinking about this, and I said, how can I show you something representative of what you could have if you took on this project? So I took some of these locations and I took Photoshop and I superimposed some images on there. Your one there on I-90, you can see that bare, ugly box, weeds around it. And what I basically did is I took a historical image of Post Falls, the falls with the lumber and everything, and I split it up, superimposed it on those two boxes, and put it on there so it looks like it was a vinyl wrap. You can do that. On Spokane Street, down there, you've got in the top right, there's your normal box. Looks like a metal, two ugly signal boxes that serves its purpose. And then I turned around and took two images. I got one from Steve that was on the big box photograph, and the other one was a flower image that I found on the internet. And I put those two, superimposed it on there so it looks like it's a vinyl wrap too. You got a crown jewel here, people. That library is really gorgeous. I came here on a Sunday morning after Steve and I drove around. Early Sunday morning, I figured there wouldn't be any traffic, and there wasn't. And I took pictures of everything. And I had a bunch of pictures of the library, and I remember working before with the library, and I think Joe, I can't remember his last name, the gentleman.
Reese.
Yeah, and he did the water thing we had, and we worked from Coeur d'Alene into here, and I worked with him. And that library, when you take a look at that top picture, you kind of gorgeous entrance, the way that is in that shape. Look at the landscaping on there. The landscaping is really nice behind there. And look at the ugly boxes in front of it. I mean, I'm not trying to be insulting, but they're boxes. So I thought to myself, boy, you could do a lot with that. And at first I thought, you know, I could take some kids' photos and put on there, because children, libraries, books, they go together. But then I thought, no, I think I'll just go out there and do something else. So on the lower left-hand side, I've got 2 royalty-free images out there of bookshelves that I wrapped the large and the small box with. And then I thought what I'd do is give you another sample, and on the lower right-hand side, you've got some pictures interior of your library out there on the website. And so I downloaded one of those interior pictures, and I wrapped the big box with it. Over on Celtice and Chase, you've got the one that's been painted. And again, as we've gone through at the beginning, painting, if they got damaged, how are you going to replace it? Repair, how do you repair the thing? Instead, you could turn around and put a vinyl wrap on it. Does it have to be that? No. It could have been the person that did the left-hand side, they could have done a painting or a drawing of that, and that could have been digitized and put on the box. At least it would be safe then, and you can replace it if you have to. So it's entirely, you know, up to you on what you're going to put on there. And over on I-90 on the east entrance, nice area, landscaping, everything, the signs and that, and you get those 2 boxes that kind of stand out. So what I did there is I had a painting of boats, and I split it up, composited it across the 2 boxes, and did a facsimile wrap of that to show you what you could do by adding some color to that particular area. No presentation is good when you're talking about doing something that's going to cost money unless you get the cost up there. And that is a complete spreadsheet of all the boxes that Steve and I looked at, the cost for them, the cost on the boxes itself, that $13,800 right there, that's firm. It's a local company, cart wrappers. In fact, I think they even do the police vehicles here, and they wrap, and they also do Coeur d'Alene. Do a good job. The owner of it, I worked with him, and the owner is pricing this out at his cost with no installation cost. You will not be able to meet, even print this stuff at the cost he's given you, and that's $14.50 a square foot. Typically, it goes around $18 to $22 a square foot just for printing, not including installation. And the reason why? Joe, he says, I work here, I live here, why not give back? And so what we did is we got a firm quote from him on the top of the boxes. I can't say the artist's fee or the art scan is firm. The art scan is probably close if you have to digitize some stuff. The artist's fee, that's going to be up to the city as to what they do or how they want to do this, and submit, get submissions in, and whether they want to give stipends or what that stipend should be. And your map down below. Having said that, I thought I would leave you with a tease on your imagination. That's your museum, people. And what I did is I took 2 of the images, the background image of the slide, and I took that other historical image, and I put it on that building. Vinyl wraps can go on buildings. And when you put them on the building, they actually conform to the bricks, everything else, and it looks like you're looking at the building with a picture on it. Now, you take some of these places that have been in California and other places where they've had big murals painted, and they pay thousands, tens, hundreds of thousands for an artist to do that. You could do this with images, if you wanted to, on some of your buildings. So I thought I'd leave you with that. Steve?
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Joe. So tonight, we're not asking for council approval, any funding or anything, so we thought we'd come back at a later date. Just so you know that most of our boxes, I already talked to staff, are owned by ITD, manage them, so I already talked to ITD. I've worked with them before. We just fill out the permits, but I think it's a good way once we get into looking at this thing to get into some art. It's all local people. We propose using local schools, local artists, but it'd be a good way to get into a local program. And of course, Joe will donate all of his time digitizing, putting them together, doing the photography, and going out to the schools. So tonight's information only, no action needed, but just kind of food for thought for us if we want to go in that direction.
Thanks, Steve. When you bring it back, if bring back ideas on how to pay for it, if it's donations, that would be
Yeah,
very
and so
helpful.
what a way it is, it gives us a PowerPoint presentation to take out to different sponsors to pay for it.
Good.
And do
Thank you.
different things, so have some
Great.
recommendations.
Thanks, Joe.
And I did check with staff too, so they know, and I think we got all of our staff on board with it too, if we go that direction.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Steve.
Liz, we already read your proclamation, just so you know. I just saw it come in. Are there any amendments to the agenda tonight?
There are none tonight, sir.
Are there any declarations of conflict? Nope. I will mention that, I'm sorry, Linda, thank you.
I'll recuse myself from hearing number 3, the Post Falls Landing Smart Code Amendment.
Thank you. And although I don't vote on the consent calendar, I will note that item I is my brother-in-law and wife who have that project, so just put that out there for the record. Shelley, would you please present the consent calendar?
Item A is minutes from the September 21st, 2021 City Council meeting. Item B is payables September 14th through September 27th, 2021. Item C is fiscal year 2022 Association of Idaho Cities membership dues. Item D is fiscal year 2022 KMPO local assessment, which is also a membership due. Item E is Amelia Apartments construction improvement agreement. Item F is Amelia Apartments site development agreement. And item G is Whiskey Flats second edition subdivision construction improvement agreement. Item H is Nicholson Commercial Center first edition subdivision construction improvement agreement. Item I is frontage improvement waiver request for 919 North Frederick Street. And item J is RZNE-0001-2020 North Place request for reconsideration. And item K is North Place East Development Agreement.
Any questions on the consent calendar?
I'd move to approve the consent calendar as presented.
Second.
Motion seconds, further discussion. Roll call, please.
Wilhelm,
Aye.
Malloy,
Aye.
Thorson,
Aye.
Borders,
Aye.
Wolf,
Aye.
Anthony.
Aye.
Motion passes. I want to make a comment. Item J, the letter submitted to us requesting reconsideration states, in addition, Mayor Jacobson, according to his biography posted on the city website, is the Senior Vice President of Bank CDA. We believe that Bank CDA has in the past and is currently doing business with the Schneidmiller family of companies and/or making new home loans for home buyers moving into Schneidmiller Greenstone housing developments. We additionally note that it has come to our attention that Bank CDA is additionally conflicted on the Planning Commission with an active business development manager voting on projects that result in more lending and loans. If Mr. Jacobson and his fellow Bank CDA employees would, under oath, state that they have no business relationship, nor does the bank that they work for have any loans owed to it or written by it with any Schneidmiller, then we would accept there is no conflict. Number one, there is no conflict. That has been stated. Number two, I have stated repeatedly that the bank I work for does not make mortgage loans. You come to our bank asking for us to finance a home purchase, we don't do it. So I don't know who the we is that they're talking about in this, but I would suggest you get your facts straight, you do your homework before you bring something like this forward. I wholeheartedly support people's right to request reconsideration, but the facts that were misstated in this, or the lack of facts, is not worth the paper it's printed on. Furthermore, I would be more than happy to take an oath stating that we do not bank the Schneidmillers, we never have, and that I don't make home loans. However, it's not up to me to have to do that. If you're going to make such frivolous, accusatory statements, then I would suggest you get your facts straight before you do it. I can't say it enough. We do not make mortgage loans. There is no conflict. There. Public hearings. Tonight, we do have 3. Fiscal year 2021 budget amendment, and Jason's here. With that, I'll open the public hearing.
So we just approved.
A couple months ago. That's not, it's not the tender program. It's not.
All right, good evening, Mayor and Council. As you'll notice, I used the pre-approved, so everybody has their own, what doesn't have their own PowerPoint presentation. We've agreed as a department on which one we're going to use, so tonight I'm going to use the agreed upon PowerPoint presentation, so it'll be easier to read than what it might be in the past. You're welcome. Even though fiscal year 21 is technically over as of September 30th, and we're in our new fiscal year 22, there are a few projects that I need a budget for and doing a budget amendment. However, even though we will be expending these funds for various projects, the good news is urban renewal is going to reimburse the city on the 2 largest ones. So that's the good and the bad news. What I'm asking to amend the budget is for a Highway 41 gravity sewer of a little over $1 million. Crimson King 12th Avenue lift station and equalization bin of $2.2 million. And then there is a small, those first 2 are going to be reimbursed by urban renewal. The second 2 are going to be used by current fund balance. So of the oversizing construction cost, that's a current project, we need to amend the budget for $110,000. And there was supposed to be a land acquisition purchase of $160,000. At the time of this budget advertising, we thought the purchase for the land was going to happen. It didn't happen, but since I'm going to amend the budget, there's no expense, so I won't. I'm still have it moving forward, but since there was no expenditure, then it's just going to be a kind of a dance for it. So in total for expenditures, I am asking to amend the fiscal year 21 budget of $3.6 million.
And Jason, this was budgeted for the previous fiscal year.
Previous fiscal year, yes, it's going to the costs need to occur last fiscal year, and so in order to expend them, I need to amend the budget. It was a project that was kind of at the last minute, was in the original budget, but Urban Renewal said we'll reimburse, so we did the invoices that are coming through. So technically, I need to have it in the budget. There wasn't any way to shuffle it around with these projects were so large.
Yeah, now my point was that it's not we're not really increasing the budget per se, but we're transferring from fiscal year to fiscal year.
What's happening is in fiscal year, these costs will occur in fiscal year 21, and so Urban Renewal will reimburse the lion's share of that portion. So we have to spend it, but it won't be using city funds for the $3.2 million. Urban Renewal will reimburse for that.
Any questions, Jason? Thank you. Anyone wishing to testify? Mr. Flowers, neutral?
Bob Flowers. Good evening, Mayor, Council. Now, first, I want to say I would never argue numbers with Jason. I'd lose flat, hands down. What I have a problem with is these cost overruns on this project. It seems to be the wastewater folks are always there. This budget, the ink isn't even dry on it, and we're already making amendments to it. Where were these numbers when the budget was being developed? Why weren't they part of the budget procedure?
Bob, just real quick, this is fiscal year 21, you're talking about fiscal year 22. This is last year's budget that we're amending, not the current year budget.
Well, thank you, Shelley. I'm in this year. And I thought as of October 1, we were into the next year's budget. I don't know how you amend a budget that's already passed. But also, there's a chunk of change in there for land acquisition. And to be honest, I'd like to know what are we buying? What is the taxpayers of Post Falls, what are they spending that $160,000 on? That's a lot of money to some folks. It may not be much compared to your total budget, but it is a lot of money. And I'm curious where it's going. Thank you.
You want to address that?
Sure, I can answer that question. John Beecham might have to jump in and assist me, but we are purchasing land for the lift station on Celtice, and it will be less expensive to purchase the land adjacent to the land we currently own to expand that lift station versus moving the lift station to build a larger lift station. So in looking at the costs, it was more efficient to do this than it was to build a new lift station.
Okay.
John, does that cover it? Okay, John, give me a thumbs up.
Anyone else? Shannon?
No.
Either for or neutral
We have none.
or opposed?
Jason's going.
I did want to address what he was talking about. The reason why these dollars were coming back to council is because they were withheld from fiscal year 2020. The work was being pushed into fiscal year 2021. It was able to be done, and so since it was able to be done, Urban Renewal said they would do the work if we went ahead with it. So this is why we were moving forward with it.
Okay. Questions of Jason? Close public hearing. Council, any questions or discussion?
I would move to approve budget amendment number 2, fiscal year 2021.
Second.
Motion second. Further discussion? Roll call, please.
We do, yes.
Excuse me. Go ahead.
We have an ordinance coming up to do this.
Okay, so we'll approve it with the ordinance. Okay. Is that all right, Al?
I wasn't quick enough on the draw, sorry.
Jumped the gun, sorry. Well, it said action item, so I thought we had to do that.
That was good action. Next item up tonight is the Ollie Park easement vacation. That'll open the public hearing. Thanks, Jason.
Good evening, Mayor Jacobson, Council President Wilhelm, and members of City Council. John Manley, Planning Manager, introducing the Ollie Park easement vacation. The applicant and owners are part of the P&H Investment LLC. I do not know if they're here this evening, but that is who the applicant is. You're being asked to review and approve a proposed vacation of a utility easement on lots 3 and 4 of Block 1 of the Ollie Park subdivision. You see right here the location. It's a little west of McGuire, south of Celtice Way. It's riding on the property line. Back at one time with plats, it was very common along the property lines just to record these easements, never knowing what exactly the future would hold as far as utilities and the need for them. Staff did review this, and we did identify that at this time, frontage improvements of sidewalk, curb, and gutter are currently in place along Celtice Way. There's also the utility sidewalk and drainage utility easement in place along Celtice Way. That was determined that utilities can be provided to the site with what's currently out there and within the existing easements. So therefore, staff determined that the request would not impact the site materially and that utilities can be provided to this site. So in essence, staff didn't really see a need to retain this for providing services to this. That way the potential development of this could just use the whole site and pull their access and utilities off of Celtice Way. Agencies were routed. You see here on PA 1 and 3, the Highway District commented. One was for the Planning and Zoning, and City Council was the PA 3. They had no comment regarding it. DEQ only has concerns. They had no environmental concerns. That's pretty much the rundown.
Questions of John? Okay, and is the applicant here or wish to speak? Don't see him. Anybody wishing to testify?
We have none.
Close public hearing. Council. I think we can go ahead on this one.
Yeah. You're safe.
I would move to approve the Ollie Park easement vacation.
Second.
Motion second, further discussion? Roll call, please.
Thorson,
Aye.
Borders,
Aye.
Wolf,
Aye.
Anthony,
Aye.
Wilhelm,
Aye.
Malloy.
Aye.
Motion passes, thank you. And the third and final public hearing tonight is Post Falls Landing Smart Code Amendment. I'll open that public hearing.
Yes, so the applicant here is the Post Falls Planning Division. The reason for that is that this condition was imposed by staff as part of the development of the regulating plan. And I'll go into a little more details on why on some upcoming slides, but the ask is to review and approve the requested amendment, Smart Code Amendment, for the landings regulating plan and amend condition 3.32, which states here that there'll be no vehicular access from Block D or Block E to West 3rd Avenue or Spokane Street. P&Z recommended approval at 9/14/2021. Block D is highlighted here in yellow. When the regulating plan was originally adopted, Waterside Drive was a private drive that was access to the condos down below. So the way Smart Code is set up is your structures front the principal frontages or your public frontages and not necessarily your private frontages. Since the adoption of the regulating plan, McReynolds Drive now is a public road. Therefore, in essence, the development site has to consider its principal frontage being Spokane Street, and it actually has two secondary frontages, 3rd Avenue and McReynolds, for access and dealing with putting buildings along the first tier. And so the way Smart Code's a form-based, so when it says first tier, you're putting the buildings up against the roadway for walkability and access and more of that city center town feel, meeting the needs of that city center master plan. So as originally conceived with the private drive of Waterside Drive at the time, created some slides of what that would look like while it was private. The buildings more or less would have probably fronted 3rd and Spokane Street, and then you would have either had to have had one access drive where you would come northbound into a parking area and then southbound. In a situation like this, more than likely you would end up with a lot more left turn movements on the Spokane, which wouldn't have been preferred. They could have kept the same kind of building configuration, but it would have created more of an S pattern. So for shipping and for distribution of traffic, it would have worked for like someone in like a truck or a vehicle, but for like if you were a food service and you had a big truck that was dropping off, that could have been an awkward scenario trying to make that maneuver. You could have gone forward on McReynolds up to 4th also as an alternative. So staff did look at the feasibility of this. You potentially could lose 3 stalls on 3rd. You would create a centralized parking. Here's where you see the structures having the ability to front those, or the 3 frontages. You would end up with some improved traffic flow as it would encourage individuals to the lit future controlled intersection of 3rd and Spokane. And you may actually realize a potential increase in square footage of structures on this site. Staff would mitigate the loss of 3 stalls and incorporate that within the site. The site still would have to meet the parking needs for Smart Code. So this is the proposed language. We're still keeping that there be no vehicular access from Block E to West 3rd, as it did not seem justified in the request at this time. You do see here that you may ask for access to 3rd from Block D, but it's only through an administrative authorization. Smart Code has a setup where there's an intent analysis, so they would apply to staff, show that they still meet the intent of the regulating plan and the vision of the city center, and we would go through that analysis and see if there's merit for access. So it wouldn't just be a carte blanche approval on the 3rd for any sort of development. You'd have to meet some design and disposition standards. Did not receive any comments. from any agencies. Any questions on?
Questions of John? Steve?
So John, just one question. Does any of these changes affect the obligation of completing the esplanade down below by the developers? So there'll still be parking or pedestrian access to get down to the esplanade? We're losing 3 parking spots, but there will be public parking somewhere that people
Yeah, in a
can
different
use to get
block, it is required to provide, on this particular block, it did not trigger the provision to provide any public parking areas. When you get to, I think, blocks, this is, block D, but I think it's A, B, and C, I think, and those, there is some provisions to create some public parking for the esplanade.
for the, because there is public access from the end of that down, so that won't be affected at all.
Not from this.
Okay. And then it won't, will it affect at all the connection from the water tower part down to, from Spokane Street down to the,
This change wouldn't
Extend.
affect anything with the water tower park.
okay. So basically, for the public, this change has nothing, won't affect any of the public access to the esplanade down there in completion?
No, there was a comment from the condos. They see this as a potential positive because it may steer more individuals away from their approach into their condos. Also, the owner of the new owner of this also sees this as a necessity to develop the parcel in general, that they couldn't develop their site with how it was configured before in the condition.
Okay. So it won't affect public access at all then?
No, that's just-
Okay, that was my main question.
Thank you. Any other questions? Linda, any questions?
She recused herself from this
Oh,
one.
thank you. That's right. Thanks, Joe. Anybody wishing to testify?
Do we have are we the applicant?
Yeah, does the applicant wish to speak?
We are the applicant.
Or the applicant? Well, you guys are just confusing me tonight. Thank you.
So the applicant, we're speaking?
In favor, wishing to speak? Steve Hythe? Yep. Say it right? I've gotten everything else wrong tonight anyway, so when you come up, would you give us your name?
It's like the hotel, Hyatt.
Hyatt, okay.
That spelling, you don't get any dividends.
Okay.
Steve Hyatt, and I live at 447 West Waterside Drive down in the condominiums. Speaking for myself, don't represent anybody else, but you did reference my comments from the planning meeting. Basically, this setup here would probably reduce traffic past our in and out. It'd be easier for us to get out and get over to Spokane Street to make that left turn at a future light. So I'm in favor.
Good. Thank you, sir. Anybody else wishing to testify?
That is it.
I'm assuming we're not going to rebut. So before I say anything else wrong, I'm going to close the public hearing. Council, any discussion?
I think it's going to help traffic flow through that block, and I think it is a positive for trying to get some development into there. So I'd be in favor of it.
You making a motion?
Yeah.
I
You
would
need a
move to-
motion on this one, correct?
Yes.
I'd move to approve the Post Falls Landing Smart Code Amendment.
Second?
Motion second. Further discussion? Roll call, please.
Porters,
Aye.
Wolf,
Aye.
Anthony,
Aye.
Wilhelm.
Abstained. Abstained.
She's recused.
That's right, never mind. Malloy,
Aye.
Thorson,
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. Next up tonight is unfinished business returning ordinances, and we do have one. It's fiscal year 2021 budget amendment.
Do it, Al.
Now you're on, Al.
Is this the one we do?
yeah.
This is the one.
Move to place the ordinance fiscal year Budget Amendment 2, 2020 on its first and only reading by title only while under suspension of the rules.
Second.
Motion second. Further, do have one question. You said 2020, this is 2021?
2021.
Yes.
Did I say
That was
2021?
my question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Motion good with that? All right,
Yeah.
second good with that?
Yep.
Further discussion? Roll call, please.
Wolf,
Aye.
Anthony,
Aye.
Wilhelm,
Aye.
Malloy,
Aye.
Thorson,
Aye.
Borders.
Aye.
Motion passes. Mr. Wilson.
An ordinance of the City of Post Falls, Idaho, amending the annual appropriation ordinance 1412 for the fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2020, to reflect the receipt of unscheduled revenues and to authorize expenditure of previously unbudgeted fund balance, increasing and establishing the appropriations for expenditures in various departments and funds, providing that the tax levy upon taxable property within the city is not affected hereby, providing that all ordinances in conflict herewith are superseded by this ordinance to the extent of such conflict, and providing that the ordinance shall be effective upon its publication date.
Move to approve the ordinance fiscal year amendment number 2, fiscal year 2021, and to direct the clerk to assign the appropriate number and that it be published by summary only.
Second.
Motion second. Further discussion? Roll call, please.
Anthony,
Aye.
Wilhelm,
Aye.
Malloy,
Aye.
Thorson,
Aye.
Borders,
Aye.
Wolf.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. Next item tonight is the, under new business, Urban Renewal Agency Commission terms. You want to lead with that, Shelley?
Sure, good evening. So currently, our terms for Urban Renewal Commission positions is 5 years. For Parks and Rec and Planning and Zoning, it's 4-year terms, and we've been talking the last couple of years about just matching that up as a housekeeping item so that our terms are uniform across all of our commissions. So tonight, we're just here to ask the council if you would like to make a motion to bring forward an ordinance that would change those terms from 5 years to 4 years. Diane Fountain, who is the Executive Director of the Urban Renewal Commission, has presented this to the Urban Renewal Commission. Would not affect any of the terms that are currently in place. It would just be for new positions that are being appointed. We do have 2 positions that will be up for appointment this year, and so we wanted to do this prior to those new positions coming in place.
Shelley and I have talked about this over the last several years, and I think it makes sense to bring the terms in line with everybody, all the other, or terms of all the other commissions and the council, Mayor.
Out of curiosity, why was it put at 5 years in the first place? Does
So
anybody remember?
I have to say, our Planning and Zoning, our Park and Rec Commission, and our Urban Renewal Commission had a lot of things that were varied, and a few years ago, we came forward and cleaned up some of that. We didn't bring forward the terms. I'm not sure why at that time we didn't. But it used to be you appointed them at different times. Now we have made that uniform where the Planning and Zoning and the Park and Rec come forward for March, and the Urban Renewal is January, and that's set by state code. So that one is a little different on the time frame.
Any questions?
So you'll just come back with an action item, one of the next
With an
meetings?
ordinance, yes.
Yeah, ordinance. Okay.
So I'd ask council to approve directing us to come forward with an ordinance.
Okay.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second. Further discussion?
Thanks for the assist.
Roll call, please.
Wilhelm,
Aye.
Malloy,
Aye.
Thorson,
Aye.
Borders,
Aye.
Wolf,
Aye.
Anthony.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes. Next item on the agenda tonight is citizens' issue, and this section of the agenda is reserved for citizens wishing to address the council regarding a city-related issue that is not on the agenda. Come on forward. You were a little tentative there this time.
I know.
You were a little tentative this time.
Yeah, sorry, I just flew in last night from Anaheim Stadium, and we were doing a project down there, so had Mike Pelissero, for the record, just had being down there for a week and working and just seeing the direction we're going, where basically a distance from here to Post Falls, out of where we were working at to Anaheim Stadium, 8-lane freeways take 2 hours of driving. It's like, God, I hate to see us go there, but I don't know if it's considered the thing, talk about the signal boxes on the agenda. I don't know if that was something I can just address. A thought on it is, if they're going to blend them to the background, I mean, most people don't notice them anyway, but you start putting artwork on them as you're approaching an intersection, I'd much rather people be looking at pedestrians in the car in front of them than admiring, oh, look at that artwork, that artwork. And it's kind of having some expertise in that field. I would really hate to see our officers out having to do accident investigations because they were not paying attention. Anyway, what I just kind of want to touch on, I didn't have a lot of time to prepare, but kids. I mean, most of us have got kids. We have them. None of us would say, as soon as they're able to reach in the pantry and grab food, say, well, go grow up and we'll see you when you're an adult. And, we hope that they're going to grow up and be responsible. We all, no one told them you can't tell them no or you have to let them grow up as the same way they want to. You had guidelines, parameters, and boundaries. And, the growth of a city is going to happen we know it, but it's the same as with children. It should have the boundaries, the guidelines, and really a look to the long time future. And we have to sometimes be able to say no. We have to look many years down the road which includes our water issues. The Bunker Hill Water Basin in Southern California, not the same Bunker Hill mining, once was thought to be just an inexhaustible source of water. They had super wells in the winter to pump the water down because basements were flooding. That was about in the early 70s, early 80s, late 70s, early 80s, that's where they had the wells. They fast forward 30 years, and now they're suing each other over who was taking too much water, who's using what water out of it. They're having to supplement it. They had to build a Seven Oaks Dam to try and catch the water of the mountains to soak into water. They supplement that water every which way they can. They try to catch about every drop. And today, some of that water is coming out of the Colorado River, which is most of you are familiar with. It's a chain of rivers. Right now, because they're trying to keep Lake Havasu, which feeds all the water going to Southern California, comes out of Havasu, trying to keep it full. Right now, Lake Powell, if you're familiar with that, Glen Canyon Dam, that thing used to be you could go for days on that thing and get lost. That's currently at 30% of capacity. That's also a little hydroelectric dam, so once that gets too low, it's not going to produce. Lake Mead, Hoover Dam, is currently at 36% capacity. You look at pictures of it, you can go online, take a look at the picture. Boat ramps don't even go down to the water level anymore. All of that stuff is just, is affected by it. And when we start looking at here, the Rathdrum Prairie Aquifer, right now the Bunker Hill Water Basin is 500,000 acre feet below capacity. If you know what an acre foot is, for anybody who knows what it is, basically is football field under 1 foot of water. It's enough to supply a family of 5 for at least a year of water. 500,000 feet, they probably never ever going to get refilled again. That's how much they're down, how much water is being used. Our Rathdrum Prairie Aquifer, Ms. Wilhelm, you need like a camera here and like a little screen so we can look at you too. Anyway, so I know growth's going to happen. I'm not going to say it's not, but we really also need to look at that our water supply, we see our winters. Even the amount of time I've been here, I've talked to people who have been here forever and just say it seems like our winters are getting less and less. We just had some rain, and I don't think it was like quite a while between the amount of rain we had. We see these, I don't think we're not exempt from any kind of a global warming, climate change, whatever it is, and without getting the debate on that, just really ask is we're looking forward to all the growth and everything. That Rathdrum Prairie Aquifer is also not inexhaustible, and it's just as fragile as every other water system. So just wanted to address that, ask you guys to think about that. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Name for the record, please.
Matt McLaughlin. I'm I'll make this quick, a physician, North Idaho Urology. I came because I was invited here because of the Smart Code amendment for the Post Falls Landing. We are trying to build a building there, and you may or may not know they don't have gas or power there. So I've been trying to ask the Coldwell banker, realtor, hey, when's it coming? Not hearing anything. So we really want to build our building. We just got to know from Williams and Johnson, who is our construction guy, is when's it coming? Because they need to have that in order to build our building. So that's all I wanted to say. If anyone knows or has an idea.
Well, I know it's been discussed.
Say Bill Melvin is the gentleman who has been working with the
Right
Vista.
here.
He's sitting right there, Bill.
Oh, great.
And
Can
so-
you get with the doc? And do you need to respond now, or can we?
Yeah, I can talk to him.
Why don't you get to? Thank you for coming in.
Okay, thanks. Oh, and Cadillac Desert is a phenomenal book about how the water is, we're running out in California and about your aquifers. So
Thank you.
fantastic for
Look
what's.
forward to having your practice out here.
Yeah.
Thanks, Bill. Next up is administrative and staff reports.
We have none tonight, sir.
Mayor and council comments. I don't think I have any tonight. How about council?
Linda does.
Linda, let's go to Linda. Thank you.
I just have a question. I didn't understand what Mike Policero said. He said something about me, but I couldn't understand him.
He would rather look at you sitting here than look at you up on the screen.
Okay, thank you.
He wanted your screen here so he can see you better. It was a compliment, Linda.
I want to thank whomever climbed up on a large ladder and took that spotlight out of my eyes. It really made a huge difference, so thank you for that. And I loved the new PowerPoint format. It was much easier to read.
And I just sent you an email. New projectors have been ordered, so
Yeah.
that will also add some clarity to the screens for folks.
But that did make a difference, I think,
Okay.
the format of it, so thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else? With that, we do not need an executive session tonight,
We do not.
so the next motion is?
Adjourn.
Adjourn.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you.